with unified data. Please welcome Jim.
Hi, everybody. Cool, thanks. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Jim. I'm with Datorama. I work with a lot of brands similar to yours on the West Coast. Today what we want to do is actually pick up a little bit of where we left off, which was a perfect segue of the world you guys live in and how not necessarily Datorama specific, we won't necessarily go into a pitch, but more or less the challenges that solutions like us help you guys solve. So before we kind of get into things, I think I have to stand over here. Maybe I don't. Now it's magic. Cool. I've been asked about this a couple of times, so I just figured I'd share it with you. As of yesterday, we were just formally acquired and will be integrated into the Salesforce family. We don't have too many details about that today to share, but if you do have questions, feel free to let myself or my colleague Ryan there know, and we can talk you through it. So to you, and the problems that we help customers solve. As it was just talked about, right? Each one of you has your own challenges, right? Especially organizationally. Some of you have divisions by region, then broken down by teams and product categories. Others have a little bit of chaos. I think in the group discussion over here, there was a big question about, well, politically, we have data. Politically, we also have teams, but nobody's really necessarily working together. So how do we solve that problem? And that's kind of where we start to talk about what is the impact of doing that on your customer and customer journey. Because if you're siloed internally with your own data, with your politics, with your tools and technology, that's felt by your customers. And at the end of the day, that is a very broken up message because you might have customers getting emails from one team, they might be getting display ads from another team, and on their social network, they could be getting something entirely different. And it creates a somewhat confusing message. And so that's what we want to kind of go into today. So we wanted to talk about three main challenges that we find our customers or potential clients run into, and ultimately some of the benefits of solving them. The first is transparency with a hard stop period. But if you had to say, well, what's a little bit more into just being transparent with your data, it's driving ROI and understanding, ultimately as many of the people in this room are concerned about, brand safety. Where are we advertising? Who are we next to? What are we doing? What's the reputation that our customers are holding our brand to? Is that going up? Is that going down? And at the end of the day, each and every one of us in this room has a budget, whether you're in sales like myself or marketing. So how are you pacing against your budget? And what's the ultimate ROI that you're trying to drive? The biggest problem here is you just don't have all of your data, right? Where is it coming from? Most of you are probably using agencies, with an S, so multiple agencies. They might not be integrated. Then you have your internal teams, maybe programmatic, display, social. And ultimately, are they all talking together? And that brings us to the second problem. Speed. Can you get all that data quickly? And if you can't, that's a problem. All of us have talked about the key word that was just mentioned about 5 minutes ago, iterative. And if you're going to iteratively improve something, you need to do that quickly. So most of our customers and the people that we talk to usually get their data before leveraging something like Datorama once a month and occasionally once a quarter from their agencies. And a lot of times that's a retrospective look. Here's what we did with your money, here's what's happened with it, right? And that's nothing against the agency or the brand, it's just a matter of processes and speeding that up. At the same time, that slows down your ability to make decisions quickly and iterate. So imagine taking your decision making from a weekly or a monthly approach down to a daily or hourly approach. And that's how we work with brands like Spotify, right? How can we make sure that what we're advertising is working today and ultimately driving some of those impacts? And for them, it's net new downloads, of the app, and ultimately, can we convert people to paid users? And what pieces of content, what channel, and ultimately what campaigns are working the best, and not just by impressions, but ultimately driving the greatest return. And this brings us to the third and final challenge, growth. Everybody here cares about it, that's why you're here, right? How do you leverage data? How do you leverage your job? How do you leverage yourself and your resources? Human and technical, and then the third, obviously data, to actually drive growth. And for us, this is a culmination of the two. If you solve for transparency and you can bring your data together, give you access to it, and then ultimately make decisions off of it faster, it will usually result in growth. There's always that fun stat that if you test and optimize, you usually see a 25% lift in whatever you're testing and optimizing. Works for everything but usually golf scores. And that's kind of how life goes, right? But at the same time, we work with marketers who see that kind of come in, whether it's a 25 or 30% lift in impressions, if that's what they care about, right? Usually in a company that we work with, as that org chart showed, There's a significant difference in what different divisions care about, but that data is the same, right? And that brings us to the final thing, the thing that compounds all of this, which is it's not getting easier. And I think you've all touched on it in the sessions that I've sat in the sessions up here. Data sources are growing, data volumes are growing. It's not a static universe. In fact, the people around you are always changing, so too are the skill sets and the data volumes. So how do you solve for that? And that's where something like Datorama comes into play. And usually we have these discussions to actually figure out which one of those challenges are you struggling with? And usually it's all three. So what we try and do, and this is what happens if you do something in Google Slides, slightly off, but usually you have chaos to order, right? And the goal is, can you take all of your marketing data, and for us, we only focus on marketing data. Can you bring it in? Can you model it? And take out, and I think this kind of went back to a session yesterday, which was humans will be in marketing for a very, very long time. And I think that's not necessarily a huge concern for us, because our job is not necessarily to remove the humans. It's to make the humans focused on human decisions rather than doing the work that technology should be doing, which is pulling data, formatting it, modeling it, and giving it to you to make those decisions. And if it makes sense, great, follow the data. If you have your gut feeling that might be something different, go with it, test it, see how that actually changes. What this looks like if you manifest it into a bit of a story. Most of our customers will take this and push this out from a strategic level, your CMO, all the way down to those tactical levels. The people doing content, campaigns, channels, etc. And ultimately allowing them to consume it and have those metrics rolled up so they can ultimately make those decisions to their own business. For one of our customers, they stand up every week and they share what they did last week, what they're going to do this week, and ultimately what they're expecting to do the week following as kind of a bit of where were we, where are we, and where are we going with our marketing and strategy. What this looks like. For Ticketmaster, one of kind of a very cool case study, right? They had data all over the place, 300 different sources. That's a challenge. And most people say, well, I don't have that much data. On average, our customers have somewhere between 95 and 120 different data sources. Think about the spreadsheets you share, the Google Sheets, your different DSPs, they add up. And especially if you're on a region basis. DSP by region, and ultimately broken up by those channels. And I'm not going to kill you with the numbers, but ultimately at the end of the day, we're all here to drive growth, to drive ROI with what you do in and out every day. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about. So if you do have questions, I know I'm holding you up from getting some coffee and some refreshments, but feel free to stop by and talk to myself or Ryan. We'd love to share with you Datorama and talk to you about how it can help you. So thank you.